The same week Donald Trump is anticipating a third indictment, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is conveniently saying he's moving toward an impeachment inquiry into President Biden over the financial dealings of his son, Hunter. Now, I know that sounds dumb. Since Republicans have no actual evidence President Biden has actually done anything wrong, or that he and his son are even in business together, or that Hunter Biden has committed offenses besides the actual tax charges he's facing, which, like, hello, Donald Trump, and his attempts to get a gun permit without disclosing his substance abuse, which you'd think would make him a hero to the gun fetish crowd. But, of course, none of that matters to Kevin McCarthy, who will do anything, crawl on his belly, do a headstand at Mar-a-Lago while Marjorie Taylor Greene throws peanuts at him, whatever it takes to appease Trump and the MAGA extremists who actually run the Republican caucus. I mean, at this point, Greene and Lauren Boebert, perhaps the two most embarrassing members of the House, have actually had a screaming match on the House floor over who gets to file articles of impeachment against Biden first. Not to mention indicted Congressman George Anthony DeValder Guitarrevache Santos, who yesterday tweeted, "Impeach Biden now," because, yeah. But what this really tells us is that Trump's de facto legal team, a.k.a. the House Republican caucus, is running out of ways to defend him. They've already tried gaslighting the country into thinking he's never done anything illegal and that January 6th wasn't really an insurrection. They've blamed Trump's self-imposed legal troubles on the weaponization of the DOJ. And now they're moving on to Plan C. Since there is no way to actually defend Trump's actions based on facts, their only salvation here is to muddy the waters. If everybody does it, then Trump can't be that bad, right? Basically what they did to Hillary Clinton in 2016. Make both frontrunners seem like they're equally corrupt. That way you feel less guilty supporting the one who actually committed crimes. Joining me now is Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, 2021 impeachment manager, and members of the Judiciary, Intelligence, and Homeland Security committees. And I mean, that's it, right? I mean, the idea is if you just make Biden seem as bad as Trump, then people can happily vote for Trump.
They're completely bankrupt of any ideas. So yes, they're just moving around between chiding people over their pronouns, showing non-consensual nudes of Hunter Biden, trying to figure out who they want to impeach. I mean, Kevin McCarthy, the way I see it, is running a law firm.
Yeah.
They have one client.
Yeah.
It's Donald Trump. He's not in charge. The most responsibility McCarthy's ever been given is to sort the starbursts for Donald Trump. That's what he's done.
He did.
And he brags about it.
I mean, the thing about it that is so wild, and we talked about this on our morning meeting this morning, they have a 5-seat majority. That means
Nancy
it's
Pelosi had a 5-seat majority. We didn't see any of this, right?
But he ain't Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Like, Nancy Pelosi's a boss. Like, Nancy Pelosi knows what she's doing, right?
That's right?
This is a different guy. And his majority now depends on how New York gets redistricted, right, which is going to change, and how that Alabama lawsuit plays out, because he's calling Alabama and saying, hey, don't let me lose my majority. So he knows he can't necessarily hold it. He's not that competent. But telling people to vote on impeachment for nothing, for Hunter Biden being related to you, right, that puts his more vulnerable members who won in districts that Biden won in jeopardy. Like, you're a politician, isn't he jeopardizing his own majority?
Yeah, they're a chaos caucus now, and he's asking them to vote for more and more chaos. And it gives us, I think, a nice frame, if we take it and we do it, to say, you know what, we're the competence caucus. Look at Philadelphia.
Right.
I-95 collapsed. Everyone said it was going to take a year to get done.
That's it.
2 weeks, we got that done. So you guys can focus on the chaos. We'll deliver competence. And if we keep doing that, I think competence wins.
It's a good point that you make, because there is this kind of, it's working on one level. There is a poll right now that shows 43% of people believe Hunter Biden did something illegal. I mean, if he didn't pay his taxes, he did. Donald Trump did something illegal is only 2 points higher than that. You can see it on the screen, 45%. Same poll, 36% said Joe Biden did something illegal when it comes to his son's business dealings, because it's muddy. And so on the one hand, it works because it does muddy everyone up, right? Are Democrats, or is the DCCC concerned that the mess is actually going to eventually hurt Biden too?
If we play on our side of the field, it's going to hurt Biden. That's why I really want us to be on offense as much as possible. I call it the 3D approach, which is every hearing, we discredit them. We defend where necessary, but we don't have to defend everything, because then you can't tell the difference between both sides. And then third, always pivot to what we will deliver. So today we had Mayorkas, Homeland Security, and Judiciary, started by discrediting Jordan. Really rich that you're having him here when you haven't followed a subpoena for 500 days.
There you go.
Defend the nonsense over open borders when border crossings are at an all-time low. Pivot to what we would deliver in the majority, comprehensive immigration reform. I think that formula works for the Biden administration if we do it right.
Yeah, and we have to come back to on this show to the really offensive questioning of Mayorkas, and sort of making him sound almost like a drug dealer. That was really offensive. But also, you all are on offense. I want to play an ad that we actually were going to debut last week, but there were so many other things happening we didn't play it because there is a going on offense piece to this as well. Let me play this ad because it does make the point that Republicans really are fixated on stuff nobody cares about. I don't think anyone other than the 3 million, some odd people who watch Fox News, it's a good number.
That's right.
But that ain't, there are 227 million adults. They don't even know who Hunter Biden is.
That's right.
But here's an ad that I guess you're behind. Let's take a look.
MAGA Republicans in Congress and across the country are so obsessed with transgender Americans that they're proposing laws that would effectively create on-demand gender inspections of children. It sounds crazy, right? But on-demand gender checks will be the law of the land if we don't stop it. They're your kids. You want them safe, especially at school.
It is mind-blowing to me. I think we did the numbers are like maybe 77,000 trans athletes in high schools in the whole country and of 327 million people. I can't imagine how many people are sitting around worrying about, can I get my gym teacher to take the pants down of the kids and check their genitals? It's crazy to me that that's what they're doing, but it is.
It's not what parents are worried about. And I'll tell you what, they're worried about their kids being safe in their schools from gun violence.
Yeah.
But I've finally decided on this issue, MAGA Republicans are not interested in the merits. So let's impose a creep cost. If the logical extension of what you want to do with trans kids is to do an on-demand gender check,
that's terrible.
We're going to call you a creep. And you should be called a creep, and you should have to defend it. And that, again, goes to playing on their side of the field because this is their obsession. It's not ours.
You told us on their last time you were on about your parents being Republicans. Yeah. My father was very Reaganite. He's not an American, but he was very much a Reagan guy. I do not remember in the ideology, the idea. I mean, they seem to want to crawl into the beds of every woman in America to make sure that you are getting pregnant and having babies for the country. They want to crawl into the gym locker, the gyms of every elementary school kid and inspect them to make sure that they're a boy or a girl.
They want to go into the
creepy.
library.
They want to go in the library and pull books out and look at what you're reading. This is the opposite of a freedom agenda. Like, what happened to Republicans being like sort of libertarian about leaving you alone?
And it gives us a chance to own freedom, right? The freedom to vote, the freedom for your kids to be safe, the freedom to read, the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. We should own freedom. And Biden, in his launch video, he really keyed in on that.
Freedom and democracy. Like, we actually want the freedom to vote, not the free, right? We don't want you telling our kids what to read or to define their gender for them. We're the mom and dad. We can do that.